1 year after a deadly prison bus escape, we finally hear from someone who saw it all unfold.
Yeah, the Georgia Department of Corrections says 2 inmates took advantage of security mistakes and murdered 2 corrections officers. There were 31 other prisoners on the bus that fateful day. One of them sat down with Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis. Randy?
Yeah, Rustin, he asked us to call him Ringo and not show his face. A convicted burglar now on parole and a key state witness to a horrible crime that's prompted big changes in the way inmates are transported.
I heard Rowe, he said, I got a long time, I might not ever get out again. He said, if I can make it happen, I'm going to try to escape today.
Talk is cheap, especially in a world of prison bars and steel shackles. But in the space of only a few seconds, Ringo would watch talk become tragedy. The June 2017 murders of Sergeants Chris Monica and Curtis Ballou.
They knew something was going on. You can just feel it in the atmosphere.
A Department of Corrections review blamed the murders on multiple security failures, starting before the sun ever rose on that fateful morning. Ringo boarded the prison bus before dawn, along with 2 inmates with violent histories, DuBose, who he knew only as Juvy, and Donnie Rowe, who everyone called Whiskey.
Did they have a real plan, or did they just seize an opportunity?
Just seized an opportunity.
He says no one searched the 33 inmates after they boarded, allowing DuBose to smuggle in something, maybe a razor, he thinks, to pop his handcuffs, which were not double locked as policy required. Ringo says DuBose asked him to sit in the front seat as he quietly worked loose the shackles.
He was like, I just don't want no bullcrap in the seat with me. So that told me there that he was serious about trying to do what they had been discussing.
With DuBose sitting behind Monica, who was assigned to monitor the inmates, and Rowe moving up to sit behind Sergeant Ballou, who was driving, the pair was primed to make their move.
So you're hearing everything?
Oh yeah, you hear everything. You hear stuff like that a lot though, and you just don't think it's going to happen. You know, it's never has.
An outside investigation after the murders determined the guards failed to click the padlock in place that secured the main cage door. Ringo says the 2 men noticed immediately, and a few miles down the road from the prison, he says Rowe took a chance.
He actually tests Monica. He opens the door and lets him slam back shut. Monica kind of wakes up for a minute, and he's looking around, and Rowe says, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good. You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Those would be Sergeant Monica's final words.
So 3-4 minutes later, Monica's back with his head down, asleep. And Rowe just gathers up all his chains and everything, opens the door and runs in and hits him upside his head.
From his front row seat, he watched the 2 men struggle, with Monica appearing to get the upper hand. But when Ballou slammed on the brakes, the pair toppled into the stairwell.
DuBose walks up into the compartment up there, and Rowe is able to throw him the gun box, and he just casually opens up the gun box, puts the clip in, loads it, and walks over there to Monica and fires multiple times.
And with Monica now dead, he says DuBose turned the .40 caliber Glock on the remaining officer.
DuBose turns to Sergeant Ballou and he tells him, he says, "You open them doors." And Sergeant Ballou just looks up at him and he says, "I can't do that." And he shoots him twice.
A law enforcement source familiar with the investigation said it's impossible to tell on the security video whether Ballou said anything before he was shot. Ringo says he watched the pair kick out a window and within seconds steal a car at gunpoint that just happened to be passing by. The remaining inmates sat on that bus in the middle of Highway 16 for nearly a half hour. 2 dead officers inside before someone driving by called authorities. The first to arrive, Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills. Ringo says he forced the bus door open, stepped around the bodies, and addressed the inmates.
"We got to find out where they're going. Do y'all have any idea where they're going?" We're like, "We're just as surprised as you are right this moment. We heard, but we didn't expect."
In fact, no one on the bus even knew the killers' real names. It would take 3 days of frantic searching before the pair turned up in Tennessee, ultimately surrendering without firing a shot. They each faced the death penalty. Both have pled not guilty. In the last hearing, prosecutors played a tape of DuBose confessing to the murders.
Were any of y'all pulling for Rowe and DuBose to get away?
I absolutely wasn't. I hope nobody else was. Not everybody is a bad person just because they're in prison.
Expect him to be a key witness should the case ever go to trial. In June, a little more than 1 year after the murders, Ringo made parole. The convicted burglar hopes to never see the inside of a prison again. And on his Greyhound bus ride home from Jackson, he made sure to sit in the very last row.
You think both of those men deserve the death penalty?
Absolutely. And the only reason why I say that is because it was senseless. There was no point in doing what they did and how they did it.
The Department of Corrections now requires a chase car follow every prison transport bus, more cameras on each bus, and padlocks that require a key be removed to make sure they are properly locked.
Yeah, you mentioned that Ringo was one of 31 other prisoners on the bus. Did any of them make an attempt to escape, since the 2 correction officers were obviously dead?
Well, they had removed some of their shackles because they actually, he said, anticipated that the attack would cause the bus to flip over, and they didn't want to get hurt in that situation. They talked about it because they were on that bus for a while waiting for someone to come along, and they were worried that a truck would come over the hill and hit the bus because it was parked in the middle of the road or in that lane there.
Right.
And someone said, hey, we should go out that window and just get away from this bus. And the others said, no, we don't want to be outside this bus. If we're outside the bus, we might get shot ourselves by police when they're arriving. So they stayed put until Sheriff Sills showed up.
Wow, it's like a movie script.
Yeah,
Pretty
a sad
dramatic.
one.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Randy.
Okay.